Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, whatever the case may be. Welcome to CrossExaminations Live. I am your host, Mike S. Miller. My son's like, you need to just pick a theme song. I'm like, but it all, it depends. What kind of mood am I in today, and how do I want to start my day for CrossExaminations? I don't know. I just think it's more fun to kind of click through the different music, see what's available, and see what just feels. What feels right. Today's topic: how the unthinkable became the unquestionable on CrossExaminations Live. Welcome to the two people who are watching now, one of which is me. So, who's here? Who is the one person that is... Oh, 3 people now. Are notifications going out? I guess we'll never know. Anyways, random thoughts of the day. Boy, you ever have a day where you just have everything pulling at you? Like, I don't know, it feels like you're a dog walker and you've got 20 different dogs you've got to walk, and they all want to go in different directions, and it just pulls, the crowd just pulls you wherever you want. Well, that's kind of how I was feeling, and I just sat down and I was praying, and I was like, Lord, and then I just realized, I was like, you know what? You're in control. You're in control. Oh. And I just had to trust in that, right? Trust in that, and I just got this vision of like holding all these all these strands going all these different directions. The dog, it wasn't necessarily the dogs, but just like pulling them all together into one mighty cord going the same way. I don't know, and it felt relieving. Not one hair of my head can change from black to white or white to black because of me worrying, and so I give it to God. I do not want to worry, so I give it to God. And you got to remind yourself once in a while, you're not in control, are you? As much as you would like to be. What's up, Jim Cruddy? What's up, Oni? Finally, 2 people pop in to say hi. 5 people watching now, 2 likes. 5 people, including me. So 4 people watching now, which means half of you have liked. Got my tortas ready. Ooh, sounds good. I haven't eaten yet. I just had a protein shake. I have a chocolate almond milk with a big old thing of peanut protein powder and fiber. Psyllium fiber. And that kind of tides me over for a bit. Okay, today I'm wearing my I'm the Artist shirt. And before people think, what the heck is the I'm the Artist shirt anyways, this was a joke. Well, I don't know if a joke is the right way. It's kind of a jab at... it was a troll, basically, for... what's up, Hikaru? When I was doing conventions, nothing would be more irritating than me sitting there drawing something and some fan walking up to me and asking if I'm the artist. So it got to the point where I'm like, you know what? I'm tired of saying it. So I went on Zazzle and I made these I'm the Artist shirts, and then like I'd be drawing, and anytime somebody would come up and ask me that, I would just lean back and point at my shirt. And it was fun. Good clean fun. Wait. What? Hikaru, what? Now I have to wait for 15 seconds because I don't know what you want me to wait for. You're an artist? Trolling me back. Alright, well, there's 7 of you here watching now, which means class is in session. Going to yesterday's channel, yesterday's stream, And checking out what people were saying from the spiritual warfare episode of CrossExaminations Live. That was actually a pretty good episode. I felt a lot of positive spiritual movement in that episode. Anyways, Jay Hamilton says, Boomer Mike strikes again. Happy belated birthday. FYI, I did get a notification, but it was working. I was working, and I couldn't watch live. Sad face, cross emojis. Well, sorry you couldn't be here live, Jay, but I hope you got to watch the whole thing through, regardless. I think that's a good one to bookmark, and that website is a good one to bookmark as well. Jim Crotty says, fantastic. I do have OCD, unfortunately, and struggling with tough thoughts all day long is definitely a spiritual battle. I definitely needed this. Thanks, man. Hey, Jim. Thank my wife and the Spirit of the Lord, because they're the ones that brought it to me. And, yeah, I was happy to be a conduit. I didn't write none of that. It's all the Lord. So, Lady Celtic Moon said, have to find ID on replay. Sorry, missed live stream. Have to find ID on replay. Sorry, I missed live stream. I don't quite know that. Music is nice. I see I did get notification. I was just not home. Thanks for the link. Kind of fun doing the comments while watching the replay. Night all, and God bless. Oh, okay, you're commenting while watching the replay. Gotcha. Thank you, Lady Celtic Moon. And again, thank you for being such a vital part of this audience. Jay Hamilton, again, says, wow, I appreciate you doing this article for CrossExaminations. Those were all powerful and inspirational scriptures about God's unwavering love for his children, and how no matter what we're going through, he always has our back. God bless. And God bless you, Jay Hamilton. I feel the exact same way. I think that was God ordained that we do that yesterday. Derpetrator says, happy belated birthday. To it, I respond, thank you, Derpetrator. And Chief of Comics, COC, says, stay away from spiritual warfare stuff, Mike. It leads to crazy cult crap. I've dealt with it down here in Georgia growing up. Well, Chief of Comics, I think, spiritual warfare is a standard, very orthodox, evangelical concept. If you've been in a somewhat cultish fellowship prior, that's like saying breathing oxygen leads to cultish crap, because we all breathe oxygen. And everyone who is a evangelical, everyone who believes in the Bible, they have to understand that spiritual warfare is an actual thing. And obviously, that show brought blessings to many more people than criticized it, at least in the comments section. So thank you for your comment. And thank you guys for all being here yesterday and today. Zach Bradley, hello. W. Molders, nice to see you too. Jim Crotty, X Gal, and P Money Money. P Money Money, what's up, P Money Money? I am watching this on the Brave browser. And if you guys are watching on the Brave browser, then you can actually tip this channel. Oh wait, no, this isn't the. I don't ask for money on this program. But get the Brave browser. I was gonna do a separate video on how, because the Brave browser gets rid of all the pop-ups, you can actually go to Bleeding Cool. When someone was like, "There's an article you got to read on Bleeding Cool," I always say like, "No," because of all the pop-ups and the garbage on that site. But you can actually go to Bleeding Cool if you're on the Brave browser, and it just, all of that stuff goes away, and it's just like a normal website. Kuzmeti says, hello, I like Brave. What's up, OB Dog? Yeah, what's up, both of you? And I do like Brave too. Plus, I don't want to make this a commercial for Brave. It's good. Just check it out. Everyone like and share and become a member, and you can do this. Jesus Campaign. Jesus Campaign. How about we just call it JC for Jesus Christ? We don't need campaigns. We don't need campaigns. Doot, 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 All right, Unthinkable. Anybody have any questions today that we can kind of mull over before we get to the topic of the day? Hikaru says, woo, no campaigns. The only campaigns should be Indiegogo campaigns or Kickstarter campaigns. I'm not biased. Ted Lemon throws up the JC. No questions. Well, where should I go? Should I pump into the old Bible and do a quick Bible reading? I could do that. Let's see what we got here. Official King James Bible. Yeah, those are okay. All right, let me do a blind. Acts. Yes. What? Can you open the door? I can't hear you. Sure. People know I eat on stream. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, but my wife brought me food, so it's terrible YouTubing, but I'm a terrible YouTuber. P-Money says, I was having a debate on whether Joseph was tempted or not to sleep with Potiphar's wife. I say yes. He said no. It's not clear in Scripture. Well, yeah. That's the temptation. If she had not wanted to sleep with him, or not tried to sleep with him, he wouldn't be tempted. It doesn't say he was lusting after her, but a temptation is when someone offers you something to see if you'll take it out of desire, lust, whatever. Welcome new member Jim Crotty. Thank you for joining, Jim. God bless you, bro. Where's your food? It's right here, but you're all the way over there, so I'm gonna go ahead and eat it for you, Jay. That's sourdough toast. Look how fluffy she makes these scrambled eggs. She watches those cooking shows and makes them all fluffy. What's up, Brett? Long time lurker, first time member, says Jim. All right, thank you, Jim. And thanks for popping on, man. Just looking at yesterday's stream, and I see the verses that were quoted. Many good ones there. I appreciate especially the Ephesians armor of God passage. Yeah, we started with that one too. That's a great one. No wasted anguish. You do not have to put ketchup on scrambled eggs. Some people don't appreciate the flavor of things in themselves, you know? Like, eggs have their own flavor. You don't have to sauce them up. Meat, good meat, has its own flavor. It was weird. My son, I'm feeding my son Kobe beef the other day for my birthday. And he's like, I didn't like it. It tastes like fat. I'm like, it's Kobe beef. It's got its own flavor. It's delicate, fatty, melt in your mouth. And he's like, tastes like that. I'm like, alright, I am not ever buying you Kobe beef because that is expensive. And apparently he just doesn't understand. Hey guys, pick a number between 1 and 28. All eggs need is a little bit of salt and pepper. That is right. I'll just eat boiled eggs, no salt, nothing. Just pop them in. You've got to be able to appreciate delicate flavors. God gave so many things such wonderful tastes, and we cover them up with stuff, which, granted, it may make them taste better, right? Combining things, using eggs as part of a recipe and all that stuff, but everything has its own unique flavor. And I'm just the kind of guy, I like to appreciate delicate flavors in and of themselves. All right, 7 is the one. Let's see. Acts chapter 7. All right, after I finish up these eggs, I will read Acts chapter 7. If you guys all want to get your Bibles out with me. Or I could just share it on the screen. Yes, yes, yes. The world's worst YouTuber. Making you all hungry. Get a boiled egg where the yolk is just shy of going chalky. That's the good stuff. When you get a perfect soft boiled egg where the yolk is still all liquid except just a tiny rim on the outside that's starting to harden. You just eat that, no salt or anything. It is like God's gravy, man. Oh my goodness. Oh, so good. I was doing that for like 6 months straight, just because I figured out exactly how long to time it on my stove the way I have it, and and what you do is you turn it upside down, right? Take a spoon and you kind of crack from the top and you kind of crack it halfway down. You pinch off, because there's usually a little bubble up at the top, and you pinch off that spot of the egg, right? And then you kind of, under running water so the water can get under it, you kind of work away the shell, because it's really soft. A soft boiled egg can collapse under its own weight really easily. And you just peel off till it's about halfway down. You take that spoon and you kind of work it in between the membrane and the egg itself, and then move that spoon down, and then you just kind of circle it around the bottom, and you can just pull the whole soft-boiled egg out of that thing, rinse it off, put it in a bowl, dash of salt, dash of pepper. Oh, so good. You guys are making me hungry. I just ate. Alrighty. Now that I am physically filled, let's get spiritually filled. Mike Bang examinations. Sorry, man. I'm a foodie. I love my foods. Oh, nuts. I was wrong. It's Act 6. Act 7 is the trial. 22 watching now. 13 likes. That means 9 of you have not done your duty. Your duty. Do your duty. Get in there. Actually, I haven't done it either. Like and share, please. Like and share. And let's get some people in here before we begin to read Acts chapter 7. I'm literally going to cook eggs for dinner because of you, Mike. All right, X-Gal, do it. Do it. Do it. All right. Let's see if I can get this up on the screen. Transition-lated. All right. We are on Acts chapter 7, verse 1. Then said the high priest, Are these things so? And he said, Men, brethren, and fathers, hearken. The God of glory appeared unto our father Abraham when he was in Mesopotamia, before he dwelt in Charan, and said unto him, Get thee out of thy country, and from thy kindred, and come into the land which I shall show thee. Then came he out of the land of the Chaldeans, and dwelt in Charan, and from thence, when his father was dead, he removed him unto this land wherein ye now dwell. Did anyone notice what just happened? Everyone skips right over this. God told Abraham, get up out of your land and come to this promised land I am showing you. What did Abraham do? Did he get up and go to the promised land? Then came he out of the land of the Chaldeans and dwelt in Charan. Charan is not the promised land. And from thence, when his father was dead, he removed him unto this land wherein ye now dwell, i.e., the promised land. He left the Chaldeans into a place called the Charan and lived there, stayed there, until his father died. I don't know if that was 6 months, 6 years, 20 years. I don't know. I don't have a timeline on this. But Abraham was told directly by God, get up and go. And it's like Abraham took about 3 steps and then said, I'm going to wait here until my dad dies and then we'll go. People skip over that. It's like they don't even notice. They don't even notice that Abraham was not being obedient. He took some steps in faith and then just kind of thought about it. He's like, well, gosh, my dad's really important to me. I should probably just, stay here with him. He's getting old, I'll wait for him to die, and then I won't have anything holding me back, and then I can go off. Right? So Abraham was not this perfect dude who obeyed every whim, every will, every direction he was getting from God Almighty. So when you fail to do exactly what you know God wants you to do, just keep in mind, none of us are perfect. Not even Abraham, the father of our faith, so-called. P. Money says, Mike, the Lord tells you to leave sinful California and move to the promised land of Canada. Sacrilege. Sacrilege, P. Money. Sacrilege. I'm pretty sure Canada would be a step down from socialist California. Because you guys are legitimately... How many of you ever noticed that Abraham was like, I will follow you, Lord, but wait a minute. Let's give this a minute. Anybody ever noticed that before? We all fall short of the glory of God means we ain't perfect. That is correct. Withheld, rather not say, not even Abraham. Not even Abraham. I just always thought that was funny. And he gave him none inheritance in it, no, not so much as to get his foot on. Yet he promised that he would give it to him for a possession, and to his seed after him, when as yet he had no child. I have no water. All I have is the rest of this coffee. What kind of... I don't know, maybe it's we live in this modern world where everything is like immediate, right? We have what's that called? Instant gratification for everything, right? And we think in this context, we think about our lives, our generation. Maybe we'll think about our kids. Maybe when we're older, we'll think about our grandkids. Abraham was being given a promise that would not be fulfilled for generations. A promise to the children of his children of his children when he had yet not had a single child. How much faith? Gosh, is it just faith? I mean, how much do you have to believe in God to... Okay. Just listening to God, just being obedient to him is one thing, right? But God was making him promises. And so it wasn't just this exchange. It wasn't just like, hey, I'll do this for you if you do this for me. It's like, hey, you go to this promised land and I will fulfill all these things. Hundreds of years later, when you're dead and gone, your great-great-great-great-grandchildren will take over all of this land, but you won't notice because you'll be dead. It's not an exchange, right? It is an act. It is an act of obedience, because he knew that God was God. He believed with all his heart, all his mind, all his soul that God was God, and that God telling him to do something was the important part in the doing. God telling him that he was going to be rewarded for doing it, that's gravy, right? That's gravy. If God tells me something and it's like, the only reason you should do this is because your great-great-great-great-grandchildren will inherit a castle in Prague, whatever, I'm not going to care. But if God tells me to do something because I love him and I want to be obedient to him, that's totally different. Don't you think? Matt C says, at least Abraham was faithful in circumcising the males of his household. Zeno says, if he had no child, he could just borrow one of Mike's. Oh, wah, wah. Oh, Rhaegar said they repeatedly hit that point in Sunday school when he was in elementary school. No kidding. All right. Well, I'm glad other people have noticed it. Because it doesn't just kind of skip through. Dip, 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 dip. This is what's happening now. No. And God spake on this wise, this is verse 6, that his seed should sojourn in a strange land, and that they should bring them into bondage, and entreat them evil 400 years. These were the prophecies. Okay, this is kind of a recap on Genesis, but these were the promises Abraham was given. So Abraham at this point could have been like, wait, what? So if I go to this place, then my children will inherit, but for 400 years all of my descendants will be enslaved. Can we try a different route, perhaps? But no, see, it wasn't about what was going to happen. The facts of the prophecies were not motivation or incentive to obey God. Once again, the obedience was out of love and honor and respect for God. I hope I'm getting that message through. And the nation to whom they shall be in bondage, I will judge, said God. And after that, they shall come forth and serve me in this place. So, yeah. So they had to go into bondage before they ever got to the promised land. If you're making a plan for how your children, how your descendants will eventually inherit this wonderful land, you're not going to say, well, how about if we have them enslaved for 400 years? We have an entire generation of children murdered. We have all this stuff, all this bad stuff happen to them. That's not usually how one plans for success. But God was just painting it out there. This is what's going to happen. Obey me. Obey me because you love me, not because of what's going to happen. Hold on, I need water. I always have to check my water in this house because Jojo will drink out of bottles after he's been eating stuff. And there'll be like food floating in the water. It's like, All right. 8. And he gave him the covenant of circumcision. And so Abraham begat Isaac and circumcised him the 8th day. Okay, kind of skipped over the whole... Skipping over a lot here. This, like I said, this is a condensed version of Genesis. And he gave him the covenant of circumcision. Abraham begat Isaac and circumcised him the 8th day. And Isaac begat Jacob, and Jacob begat the 12 patriarchs. And the patriarchs, moved with envy, sold Joseph into Egypt. But God was with him and delivered him out of all his afflictions, and gave him favor and wisdom in the sight of Pharaoh, king of Egypt, and he made him governor over Egypt and all his house. Now there came a dearth over all the land of Egypt and Canaan. I wonder if that's just Canaan. Yeah, it's Canaan, huh? And great affliction, and our fathers found no sustenance. But when Jacob heard that there was corn in Egypt, he sent out our fathers first. And the second time Joseph was made known to his brethren, and Joseph's kindred was made known unto Pharaoh, and sent Joseph and called his father Jacob unto him, and all his kindred 75 souls. 75 people. 75 people. That was the entirety of the house of Abraham. The house of Israel. The entirety was 75 people. Well, plus Joseph. So Jacob went down into Egypt, and he died, and our fathers, and were carried over into Sichem, and laid in the sepulchre that Abraham bought for a sum of money of the sons of Amor, the father of Sichem. But when the time of the promise drew nigh, which God had sworn to Abraham, the people grew and multiplied in Egypt, till another king arose, which knew not Joseph. So God knew that this land would be struck with famine, right? So God allowed or set up Joseph to become the ruler in Egypt, long story short. And then through deception and through evil intent of his brothers, and then brought his whole family into Egypt, where they flourished, right? Because Joseph had the vision, or the Pharaoh had the vision, and so Joseph set it up so that they would withhold grain, they would withhold corn, it was grain, for 7 years to last through the famine. And so, if it wasn't for that, the house of Israel, if he'd have just stayed in whatever the Chaldees or whatever, they all would have starved to death probably, and all this story would have ended right there. But even though things seem evil, even though things seem difficult, I mean, for the heaven's sake, they grew and they populated, and then another Pharaoh arose who did not know Joseph and started to enslave the Egyptians and started to kill them and started to, all that horrible stuff. And for 400 years they grew and they multiplied until there were 2 million men plus women and children by the time they left. From 75, from Abraham and Sarah to the patriarchs and their 75, into Egypt times 400 years, 2 million men plus women and children. So probably six I would estimate 6 to 8 or 6 to 10, depending on how many children they had. Let's go 6 to 10, somewhere between 6 and 10 million people, Jews, living in Egypt. Genius. Bow Ties Are Cool says, God is a master artist. He sees the whole picture while we can only see a tiny section. Right. But even at that point in time, they've been saved, they've multiplied, they are an entire nation now living within the city or under the domination of the Egyptians. They're an entire nation in slavery, and complaining about it. And then they go into the desert. I think I'm done actually reading this, because what time is it? 35 minutes ago. Oof. Okay, I need to get to the topic of the day. But yeah, even though you think you're going through tough times, there's a greater purpose to it, right? These guys were all enslaved, and I'm like, oh, this is the worst thing. There's a greater purpose to you being enslaved. You happen to live the life of a slave, whatever those circumstances mean. There is a greater purpose. And you know what? The whole universe is not about you. So your life may be serving a greater purpose to the greater good, right? I mean, someone had to bring, somebody had to be the guy that made Abraham Lincoln's shoes. All right? That's a terrible example. But people are pivotal in the greater purpose, the greater good, without ever understanding how they changed the world. Some cow farmer, some leather tanner in some podunk town made the soles of the shoes that Abraham Lincoln wore to walk from his dirt floor cabin to register to run for Senate. We're all part of the greater whole, and we all serve part of the greater good. But if that guy, if somebody else had made those shoes and those shoes fell apart, and Lincoln, got a infection in his foot and never made it to, and then the slaves never got freed, and then it's all part of the greater good, right? We might just play a tiny little part, like in the giant machine of life. We might just play a part that's this big. But you know what? If you took that part out, the whole machine stops working. Or they're going to have to replace that piece with somebody else. So we all serve some purpose, right? We all do serve some purpose. Anyways, let's move on to the topic of the day. If it loads, of course. How Unthinkable Became Unquestionable. New study on the collapse of moral consensus. Some dude created a line in a program, that is helping us today, that is helping you hear me, right? That is helping me spread the gospel as much as I can. You know what I'm saying? Even people who are against God, even people who are anti-Christ, they serve a purpose too. Just saying. David L. says, hey, Mike, I've really started to enjoy CrossExaminations. Thanks for doing these streams. You got it, David L. Thank you for being here. Please like and share and let other people know that you do enjoy it and that you would like to have them enjoy it with you. W. Mulder says, and to that point, at the end of Act 7 is the story of Stephen being a martyr, and there was Saul. Incredible. Incredibly. Mm-hmm. True. All right. Anyone else dizzy by how quickly some things went from being unthinkable to unquestionable? Just in the last few years, although the most recent demands of sexual revolution are more radical than ever, people seem to be embracing them more quickly than ever. For example, When Andrew Sullivan first made the case for same-sex marriage in the New Republic back in 1989, the very notion was considered to be beyond the fringe, and it stayed that way for about 2 decades. Then, suddenly, it wasn't beyond the fringe anymore. By 2012, a majority of Americans favored same-sex marriage, and 3 years later, it became a constitutional right. Today, opposition or even ambivalence to same-sex marriage is regarded as beyond the fringe. And the pace of change on sexual issues has only accelerated. Transgenderism was considered beyond the fringe when same-sex marriage was legalized, and I predict the acceptance of polyamory could happen even faster. So what explains this quick and thorough collapse of the old moral consensus? That's what I talk about on the Breakpoint podcast this week with sociologist Mark Regnerus of the University of Texas. Our conversation dug into a recent public discourse article he wrote, How the Rise in Unreligious Americans Affects Sex and Marriage, Comparative Evidence from New Survey Data. Sounds riveting. That's just a... Come on, spice up that title, man. Clickbait it. Clickbait. Just after the midterm elections in 2018, Mark Regnerus, Regnerus, asked 3 groups, Catholics, evangelical Protestants, and the non-religious, about their opinions relating to marriage, family, and sexuality. He compared their responses with those from a survey he conducted 3 years prior. What Regnerus found was that the non-religious are now even more likely to hold progressive views on marriage, family, and sexuality, especially when compared to self-identified Catholics and evangelicals. For instance, 24% of the non-religious agreed with the statement, marriage is outdated, compared to just 10% of Catholics and 2% of evangelicals. Similarly, the non-religious were 3 times more likely to say that polyamorous relationships were okay compared to Catholics, and 10 times more likely compared to evangelicals. And the non-religious were 8 times as likely as evangelicals to say that sometimes extramarital sex can be okay. Of course, the strong relationship between one's religious observance and their view on marriage, family, and sex is no surprise. What makes Regnerus' study so revealing is how rapidly the number of those who self-identify as non-religious has increased. By 2015, they made up 15% of the respondents. 4 years later, they made up 20%, a 1/3 increase in only 4 years. The non-religious are often called the nons, and it's important to remember that relatively few of them are atheists or agnostics. Many believe in things like astrology and witchcraft, and many consider themselves quite spiritual. But they reject authoritative religious traditions and institutions and increasingly embrace progressive views on social issues. But the even more ominous trend from the study is that even though there exists a significant disparity in views between the religious and non-religious, the religious are displaying trends of increasing liberalization too. Catholics have witnessed liberalization in attitudes, Mark says, though evangelical numbers display a more modest uptick. Regnerus concludes that Christians seem to be growing more complicit in the sexual revolution, or at least more quiet about their misgivings year by year. Don't miss this important discussion with Mark Regnerus on the Breakpoint podcast. Link here. You know what? Well, just go to ChristianHeadlines.com and get to this article if you want to click that. I'd have to open a whole nother window here. It's a conversation that will help you prepare when the next previously unthinkable thing becomes conventional wisdom, which, at the rate we're going, could be next week. Yeah. I've more than once on this show I've discussed the slippery slope and how it began long ago, before even I was born. It began with I guess you could see step by step how it happened. The the women's rights movement, which is funny because there's a equanimity point where these things are okay, but then there's a tipping point where you start sliding downhill. Women obviously should have equal rights, right? There are some women who would say, I've heard women say this, that women should not have the right to vote. I wouldn't say it. I think women should have equal rights. But there was that fight for that equality of rights. But at some point it tipped over into somehow elevating women above men, somehow elevating the individual desires over that of the family. I don't know. Then we ended up with the sexual revolution, birth control pill, the whole hippie era, the normalization of unwed mothers, which led to a generation of fatherless children, which led to an outbreak of homosexuality, the normalization of homosexuality, the forced acceptance of homosexuality, the switching of the roles, the gender roles in the parents, where the mother was acting as the father was acting as the mother, which, to my experience, has produced children who become questioning of their own sexuality or even outright transgendered. I have multiple cases of people I know in my own life where that is the exact situation that happened. And so on and so forth. And it's all just a cumulative, snowballing, slippery slope, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. Where do we go next? Where do we go next? Edwin says, LOL, contagious gay. Well, making it cool, right? Making it cool. It's cool to be gay. So, what does that mean? That means if somebody is even, for some whatever reason, questioning some sort of sexual thought, even a stray thought, and then they're like, well, since it's cool, maybe I should try that out. Meh. Trendy. Glamorization. That's right. Gender roles and pizza rolls. I don't know that pizza rolls has anything to do with it, but let's see. We got about 12 minutes left. They weaponized victimhood. They're turning the frogs gay. I fear a collapse of society for our enemies seeing weakness. Ray Thulu says, it wasn't very many years ago that anyone publicly advocating what the maps do now would have been found in a ditch. That's right. Maps are pedos. Pedos. Well, you guys know what I think about pedos. Just take them out on a nice cruise ship, tie something very heavy around their neck, and throw them in the water. Hold on. JoJo's here. Jay Hamilton, the videos are truly funny. I love it when Eden starts kind of messing with Mike. I really think it's funny. I also enjoy the other vids he does. I think it will bring more subs. Wait, what did Jay Hamilton say? Even the Bible says that women have their place. I don't think that's what it was. Sex with androids at this point, it's already starting. Oh, I mean, come on. The real doll came out last century. I remember, and they're just trying to make them more real. They're probably going to start putting android brains in them. Oh, wouldn't that be creepy? Oh. What if you put, that AI with the head, it's like, it's got the girl's face on it, and it's an AI. What if they started doing, like, that AI in a real doll, and people started actually having, like, not just sexual but intimate relationships with an artificial intelligence sex doll. I know it's coming. They already have AI sex dolls? Oh, God. Matthew Lemon, I don't even want to know. Ray Dulu says 99% of the weird in this world comes out of Japan. I blame your people, Mike. I do too. I believe the recommending weighting object is a millstone. I don't think you'd need a millstone anymore, Edwin. I think millstone is pretty heavy. I think you just need something that weighs, I don't know. What do you think? 50 pounds? Probably don't even need that much. You just need to counterbalance the weight of the buoyancy. So you could drag somebody down with probably an extra 5-10 pounds worth of weight. So that's enough. Jim Crotty says, this show meant a lot to me lately. No homo. Right on, Jim Crotty. Thank you. No homo, back to you. Cherry 2000 is almost here. Withheld says, so someone being made just to be hookers, that sounds not good. AI hookers? Like in, what's the character's name in Blade Runner? The pleasure model. Matt C says, you're not causing a child to sin when you're a pedophile. Don't know why the millstone passage is applicable. Because you're destroying a child's life, Matt C. Look at pop cultures in the 80s compared to now. Evidence we're socially devolving. Absolutely. Money for nothing and your chicks for free, man. Let's scroll back up to see where... see, both parents having or work. Atechi says, both parents having or work and or a failed father figure, I believe, cause a breakdown in traditional... Oh, having to work. Breakdown in traditional values. Well, here's the interesting thing. Both parents, quote unquote, having to work in a lot of cases is because they just want more stuff. In the 50s, they lived in poverty. Middle class America lived in poverty according to today's standards. So if you were Ward, Cleaver, Beaver, Wally, June, those guys in their pretty little house with her pretty little dresses and their nice clean little clothes, those guys lived in poverty by modern standards. Now, if you wanted to live by those standards today, you could probably live on a near minimum wage job and a single income family, right? There was no cell phone bills. There was no air conditioning. There was no... I don't even know if she had a washing machine. She might have washed the clothes by hand. There was no cable. A TV was a luxury. If you take away all the things that cost us hundreds of dollars a month, most people in America could live, most poverty level people in America could live the absolute Ward Cleaver, Leave It to Beaver lifestyle today on a single income, but we'd choose not to. That is a choice. And you can't say, oh, I can't live without the internet. People lived without the internet for thousands of years. I mean, I couldn't do this without the internet, but that's a choice too. Needs and wants, ladies and gentlemen. Huge divide between needs and wants. You could live that Leave It to Beaver lifestyle and have a single income family. Just saying. Your school is free. Your kids can go to school for free. You can homeschool for next to nothing. In the Bay Area, you'd be priced out, Atechi Duran says. Yeah, the Bay Area is a little... Did Ward ever say what his job was? I don't recall. Dark Admiral says, but I need the things I want. Kentucka says, I watch Antenna TV. Do you really? Do you really? I can do without a cell phone if my family didn't need me. Yeah, I mean, we all did without cell phones 2 decades ago. Well, not all of us. I got my first cell phone in 1999, 2 decades ago. Prior to that, I didn't need a cell phone. Right? I lived most of my life without a cell phone, and I was just fine. Ward was a pimp. Yeah, and again, you don't have to live in the Bay Area neither. Tell you what, if you want to live single household, single you want to live so that your wife can stay at home and be a mother. You can pick up, sell everything you own. If you live in San Francisco, you can pick up, sell everything you own, sell your house. If you've got a mortgage or whatever, you can do whatever, and you can move to about 47 other states, 46 others, maybe 48. You could probably move to about 48 other states where your cost of living would be a tiny fraction of what it is in San Francisco. Again, that's a choice, and people aren't willing to make that choice, and therefore both of us have to work so that we can live this lifestyle at the detriment of our children having a real family life. And that is a choice we've made in this country for decades. Chicken says yes, but payphones existed. You know how much it is to have a landline? It's like $14 a month. I have a landline. I'm one of the few people who still has a landline. It's like $14 a month. It's less than 50 cents a day to have a landline. People can get a hold of you. You can have this thing. It's called an answering machine. But you know what? Most landline services have answering services. You don't even have to have an answering machine anymore. If you don't answer the phone, it goes to an answering service, which I believe is a free charge. It's a free service. You know what I mean? We are all spoiled and we're putting our priorities in the wrong place. My wife does not work. If my wife wanted to work, I mean, she could. It's not like I'm stopping her. She doesn't want. She's here with the family. She takes care of the family. 5 kids. It's a lot of work. And I work here because I'm busting my butt trying to make a living, trying to do this for you guys. And so I am a single income dude with 6 people to feed and 2 cats and 2, what are those things, lizards? I don't know what the hell they are. Geckos? Are they geckos? Whatever. I'm feeding a bunch of people and things here on a single income to have a family that is being raised in what I believe is the best possible circumstances. I am here for them all day long. I'm always here for them. If they need me, I am here for them. I mean, you'll see them come in here while I'm in the middle of a stream and interrupt me. And if they need me, they need me. And I'm here for them. I don't know. Just consider what's important. Consider what's important. What can you get rid of, get away with not having, in order that your kids have a mother? What's more valuable than that? Take your own advice and flee California, Chicken Sith says. Possible, Chicken Sith. Edwin says, much like the great orator George Bush proclaimed, Mike is just trying to put food on his family. Anyways, thanks everybody for being here. It has been an hour. I think it's been a fun show. And I thank all 47 of you for being here. Hit that like, hit that share. Once again, subscribe if you haven't already. Join if you want to be a member. And you guys are you're the ones that have to get out there and do this, right? I'm just one guy sitting behind a microphone talking to you. But you guys have to get out there and make the difference. So make a difference.